Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of George Reviews. And yes, it's that time again, time to catch up on some more Last of Us. I know these videos are really late. I was really sick, and so that kind of postponed a few things, but I'm back. I'm ready to talk more Last of Us with the rest of you guys. So let's get into it. Episodes 4 and 5 on George Reviews. So because I'm so incredibly late with these videos and I want to talk and express more Last of Us with you guys, I'm really enjoying the show so far. Spoiler alert, episode 5 was definitely my favorite episode of the bunch so far, and it's probably only going to get better from here. So I want to talk briefly about episode 4, what I liked and whatnot, and I want to get more of a deep dive into episode 5. So that's what's going to be happening on this video. Again, apologies for the delay on these, and I'm ready to dive back into The Last of Us with you beautiful people. So let's talk about it. So episode 4 is a really good episode to dive into the relationship of Joel and Ellie, to really get their dynamic more fleshed out, and it was a beautiful episode to do so. We get a lot of great twists and turns throughout the episodes. If you have played the game, you know that they get ambushed by a bunch of quote-unquote hunters in the game. I'm not sure what they're calling them in the series, but that's just, for better lack of a term, let's just call them hunters. And before that, we get a lot of great back and forth between Joel and Ellie, and with a really great Hank Williams song as they're playing in a really beautiful montage. We get beautiful apocalyptic sights on the road, on the side of the road, and everything. And it's just really a really great episode, because episode 3 was so heavy. It was so emotionally heavy. I think all of us need like a little bit of a breather to kind of get into the more of the relationship dynamic between Joel and Ellie, which I thought this episode did a brilliant job of doing that. But Joel and Ellie get ambushed by a bunch of hunters, and it's a really cool sequence, very similar to the game. They crash into a little garage, and they have to fight their way out with each other. And what's so beautiful about this sequence is it really kind of tests Ellie and Joel of what they're capable of. Ellie obviously has stolen a gun from Frank, from Bill and Frank's, and so she has to use it to defend Joel. And this kind of brings up a really interesting conversation piece between the two, how that, she's just a kid. And so Joel's fatherly instincts really kick in to what he had with Sarah, and how that he tragically lost Sarah, as we saw in the first episode in the beginning of the series. So it was really interesting kind of a way of them opening up to each other. We only have 9 episodes, so of course you're not going to get it as fleshed out as it is in the game, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean that's necessarily a bad thing. We just have quicker time to kind of get to know these characters and flesh them out. I think they're doing a really beautiful job with that. With the fleshing out of their relationship. And of course, we get the introduction to the Melanie Lynskey character, the one I've been kind of hyping up on this channel for a little while. I love Melanie Lynskey ever since I saw Heavenly Creatures. So I was really excited to see her character. And she plays a woman named Kathleen, who is this leader of this kind of resistance group, and they've kind of overthrown Fedra in Kansas City for the most part. And she's on a mission, a bloodthirsty revenge mission against someone named Henry, who happens to have a little brother named Sam. And so, of course, if you play the game, you know exactly where this is kind of going. We're getting the introduction of Henry and Sam, a very pivotal and very emotionally gut-wrenching part of the game that was spent a lot more time in the game in the series. I feel like I'm going to be a broken record with that. Not to criticize the series, because we only get so much time with these characters, but you do a brilliant job of introducing these characters for an episode or two to really just kind of punch you in the gut and stab you in the heart, of how dire and emotionally straining it is to kind of lose these characters, kind of gate these characters, and only to lose them in such tragic ways. And so I really liked the character of Kathleen. I thought Melanie Lynskey did a fantastic job in these 2 episodes. She really just sets her apart from a one-dimensional villain. So she wants Henry because Henry read the location and whereabouts of Michael, her older brother, who was the leader of the resistance, now that she's taken his place. and she's really pulling, she's showing no mercy. She talks with the doctor who delivered her, who wants this violence to kind of end and to stop, and she's not having that. So she's just full on ruthless. The anger and revenge has taken a hold of her, and there's nothing that can really bring her back from that, which I think is really an interesting dynamic for a character. So they come about Joel's handiwork of the death of the kid who he killed, who was about to kill him. So Kathleen decides to execute the doctor in retaliation for that. And now that Joel and Ellie are on their hit list as well, and it's going to be a very big kind of cat and mouse kind of chase between the two, which brings on for a really badass sequence, the lack of a better term, for episode 5. So episode 4 just kind of continues on and on with the dynamic building, the character building of Joel and Ellie. It's a really funny moment. Ellie, of course, gets the pun book and kind of reads off different jokes and puns to Joel, and one just kind of breaks him about diarrhea, how it runs in your genes, and that was just really fun moments, and really got to have Pedro kind of crack a smile and laugh for once. But the episode comes to a cliffhanging close when they are confronted by Henry and Sam at gunpoint, and the episode just kind of ends. We're not really sure what's going to happen or who these characters are. Of course, we learn in episode 5 that they are Henry and Sam, and that they don't want to hurt them but to help them. So then we dive into episode 5. Now, episode 5 is my personal favorite of the season so far. I've loved all the episodes more or less. Episode 3 is definitely up there, but I like episode 5 just a little bit more. I feel like, we get more story building, more plot moving, more characterization with the characters. Episode 3 had a lot of characterization, just not with Joel and Ellie. And so this was a really great episode. And of course, we start off with a little flashback where Kansas City has taken over Fedra, and it's you can tell they really spent a lot on the budget with this episode, because it is this massively violent and explosive and gruesome, and everything about it is just so fucking amazing. I really love this flashback intro. Then we get Henry and Sam kind of in hiding. They communicate through sign language because Sam is deaf, which is a change from the game, and a welcome change. I feel like it kind of gives more depth to the character. Not that it's not like an emotional crutch to make you feel sorry for him, but it definitely gives more interesting kind of roads for these characters to go down with, and I think it's really good. Also, again, really good representation. Not to sound like whatever, but I really feel like they're doing a really great job at exploring these characters through different ways, and also giving representation to undertold groups of people who, and media and storytelling that kind of go by the wayside, unfortunately, with a lot of film and television. But I think The Last of Us is doing a really great job at delivering that. And so Kathleen questions a group of collaborators, rats, people who sold other people out to get get ahead, to get supplies, to get things that they probably couldn't get otherwise. And it was a really kind of tense scene, which ends up Kathleen basically ordering the murder of every last one of them after they give them some information on Henry and Sam. And then we kind of get more continuation. We see the ambush of Joel and Ellie from Henry's perspective, which was really great. Again, Lamar Johnson, who plays Henry, and who I forget the actor's name who plays Sam, but it's escaping me right now. But they both did an excellent job at portraying these characters, and just kind of in this apocalyptic world. They definitely kind of pop in their personalities, which I felt was really important. They weren't just like some guys on the run, generic characters, and they're not that way in the game either. Like, they definitely are a very important and vital part of the game as well. And so we get caught up to where we last left off, episode 4, with Henry and Sam confronting Joel and Ellie at gunpoint. Of course, we learn later on in the episode that they were not really held at gunpoint, that they were empty guns, and kind of just an admission of guilt from Henry, which was interesting. It really brings a lot of depth to his character of how, he's trying to play a big scarier figure than he actually is, which I thought was really interesting. It's even makes it even more tragic, him not being a violent man, to where we get in the end of this episode. Is really good kind of correlation and arc to his character. And so we learn they want to help Joel and Ellie kind of escape the city, and they're going to need their help because they don't know the city like he does, and so it's very important that they work together. This is when Henry really confesses to Joel that he's a collaborator, and Joel doesn't like to work with rats, as he says. Henry kind of twists his arm. So that's kind of our big plot of the episode, and they kind of have to rely on each other. Trust doesn't obviously come easy for Joel, so it's not like something that he normally wants to do. Then we get a really kind of intimate scene between Perry, played by Jeffrey Pierce, I believe, who actually is the voice actor to Tommy in the game, which we'll be getting more into Tommy as the season goes along, I'm sure. Tommy's definitely a very vital character. But here he's playing a new character named Perry. We get a really kind of tender scene between them. Some empathy towards Kathleen, at least that's what they're going for, and I definitely kind of felt that empathy, even if others didn't. I know there might be some detractors for this character of Kathleen, which, love or hate her, I definitely think she's more of a three-dimensional character than she could have been. I think that's, credit to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin and the writing team. I thought they did a fantastic job at kind of fleshing her out. And so she kind of gives us this backstory of her and her brother Michael, and how, he was pretty much a protector for her, and that, she obviously loved him very much. And throughout this whole apocalyptic setting, he was really all that she had, which makes it even more tragic to see his downfall, which kind of correlates and parallels to a scene between Joel and Henry as Ellie and Sam kind of play and read through comic together, and they're kind of bonding and, growing their bond. They find this little section underground that was kind of a sanctuary kind of zone from the QZ, from Fedra. Obviously it didn't really work out for them, but this room is just covered in drawings and pictures, and it's just really kind of a sweet and tender kind of breathing room that we get before the real craziness kind of happens in this episode. So we get a really good conversation between Henry and Joel. Joel kind of regrets judging him right off the bat, and we get some backstory with Henry about Sam. He developed leukemia, and, there was a drug he could get, but he had to give something to Fedra in order to get it. So that's why he became a collaborator to help his little brother, So we kind of see both sides have their reasons for what they're doing. They're not really played as one's good, one's evil. Obviously, Kathleen is the greater evil than Henry, but to their points of view, they think they're doing the right thing. And even though Henry has immense regret for doing what he did to Michael. And there's a really good line that Henry gives to Joel, earlier he assumes that they're father and daughter, and they say, they both kind of jinx and say, he's not my dad. And then we kind of get a speech from Henry, and it was in the trailer, to be fair, but it's a really good kind of dialogue between them, saying, he might not be her father, but he was someone's, and he can kind of tell his fatherly instincts. They're both protectors, as Bill kind of wrote to Joel, that they're protectors and fuck anyone that stands in their way. And I thought that was just really brilliant way to kind of make this episode a 10 out of 10 for me. It was just so great. And it was just such a beautiful moment. And to have these scenes next to each other, Kathleen and Perry and Joel and Henry, I just really thought was a really brilliant direction writing to kind of go. If you're introducing things in an adaptation, obviously this Kathleen story is really new, and it's kind of a risky thing to do, especially when you have so many lovers of the game, and you have so many people who are judging this harshly or looking for any kind of holes to poke into. But they did a really, really great job, I feel, in developing these characters and giving more depth in the characters of Henry and Sam, which was really great. And then we kind of jump to a little bit later on at night. They're walking through a neighborhood, Joel, Henry, Sam, and Ellie. And Ellie tries to give an invitation to go to Washington, or is it Wyoming? I forget. It was Wyoming, I think. To go to Wyoming to meet up with Joel's brother Tommy, and Joel's is kind of standoffish about it. And then they're interrupted by the sniper. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the first game, when they're kind of being pinned down by the sniper and a bunch of other people with guns as well. Of course, they kind of changed it a little bit. They switched it from day, which was in the game. They switched it from day to night. Which I think it brings a better kind of mood to the scene in general. And they kind of make the sniper not so great at shooting. He turns out to be an old man, which Joel kind of confronts as he makes his way through the gunfire. And he tries to convince the sniper to stand down. He doesn't. Joel ends up shooting him. And, this is also a great moment for Joel because we're really getting a more empathy and more kind of three-dimension to him. He's not just ruthless character that he will give anyone, a chance to stand down. And, he kind of has to regret that. So he takes out the sniper. But then it's revealed on the radio that Kathleen and Perry and the rest of the group are on their way to get Henry and Sam. They've, the sniper obviously alerted their location to Kathleen and Perry, and so they're on their way, and it's going to get fucking crazy. And this is such a great sequence. I mean, this is my favorite sequence of the whole show so far. Just the way Ellie was running and firing her gun, and all the cars and just chasing after them. Joel having to go up on top of the house and snipe, from his location. And, it takes out the driver of the main car, the front car, kind of, causing most of the destruction. And then they're still kind of pinned down by the rest of the group. And it looks very, not so great for our characters. Until then the vehicle that was destroyed kind of takes a nosedive, and then we are just bombarded by infected just coming at the screen so fast and so crazy. It was just so whoa, this is, I was expecting some infected to come out. In the game, they kind of just come out from the sidelines, but this is just like a bombardment, and I thought that was just really, really well done. The level of production this show has is just amazing, especially for an HBO show, even farther than Game of Thrones. I feel like this Last of Us HBO adaptation has a lot more levity than Game of Thrones ever did in terms of set pieces, and they're just doing a really, really, really brilliant job at delivering that. And we see infected come in, everyone's trying to take them out, and then we get to the dun dun dun, which was teased in episode 4 of the bloater. Yes, we finally get to see a motherfucking bloater in this episode, and it was fantastic. It was just so, words can't even describe how, giddy I was getting just watching this, having to fight so many bloaters in the first game and in the second game. It was just really, really, really intense, and just the way Perry tries to fight off the bloater, he decapitates his head. Kathleen kind of runs off, and then we get Joel kind of protecting Ellie by firing zombies from his location. Obviously, like in the game, you have an infinite amount of ammo to kind of fire away at these things, and it was really cool. We get Henry and Sam kind of trapped underneath the car. We get Ellie going inside of a car, and then this really contorting child infected kind of comes in and tries to get Ellie, and they actually got a child gymnast to play this part. You can really tell that they're very good at contorting their body movements and everything. I thought that was a really good call on the creators and producers and casting for that. So, bravo to that. So you think they've gone away. Then Kathleen kind of comes and does her big bad guy speech, and then she's interrupted by the same child clicker, or same child infected, and just jumps on her and shreds her to pieces. Obviously her obsession to get Henry was greater than her will to live or her will to survive. I think that's kind of the main takeaway. It's unfortunate we only get such short a time with Kathleen. It would have been interesting to see more of her character kind of developed, but I think they did a good job with these 2 episodes developing her character. It's just an amazing sequence. It's literally like hell on fire on screen. They leave the environment. We see the bloater. We see all the infected tearing up everyone. We see fire. We see smoke, flames, everything, and it's just so fucking wild and so great. And then we get to calm down a little bit, after that epicness of epic proportions, lack of a better term, we get to kind of calm down a little bit. We go to find themselves in a motel. Joel's opening up to the idea of bringing Henry and Sam to Wyoming. They could tell that Ellie and Sam are kind of bonding, and it would be hard to kind of separate them. They're obviously new friends, and that would be kind of sad to, do that. And we get a really good scene with Ellie and Sam. Sam has like a little right pad thing. That's how they kind of communicate. And it was such a great performance, just between just writing notes to each other. There's so much they can do with just like kind of in silence. And, we get a lot of kind of confessions with these 2 characters, how they're really afraid, and how Ellie's afraid of ending up alone, and how Sam is worried, like, do you know it when you turn to a monster? And that's where we get the devastating reveal that he was bitten and now he is infected. And she does a very sympathetic thing, for him. She kind of stays with him. She stays awake with him. She tries to comfort him the best she can. But the next day, the inevitable happens. Sam is turned into an infected and then attacks Ellie, and Joel's instincts is to protect Ellie. Henry's instincts are to protect Sam. They're not really sure what to do. Henry grabs the gun from Joel, fires at him, but ends up shooting his younger brother. And it's a very tragic moment. I'm really glad they went there. I know HBO is not really one to kind of shy away from brutal, kind of gruesome storytelling beats and events. They'll kind of go anywhere, even if it means killing a child. I think any other network or film studio distributor would be nervous about that, but I feel like they really pulled it off really well. It was done really with a lot of respect and a lot of, it wasn't gratuitous at all. And then Henry shoots himself just like that. And it's just like a very, like, as a matter of fact, wow, yeah, that just happened. And then they have a burial for them. And now they're just on with her journey. Really, this whole kind of world is hardening. It's already hardened Joel, and it's kind of hardening Ellie in a way, which is really tragic for a kid to go through, as we kind of saw in episode 4, where Joel kind of, says to Ellie that she's just a kid, that she, shouldn't have to be doing this. And it's just such an amazing episode, such a tragic end, such a thrilling episode. This episode had it all, great character development, funny moments, great grandiose set pieces, and really tragic, brutal storytelling. Everything that I definitely want in an episode of television, especially in the Last of Us adaptation. And they did it really well, and those are just going to be my main thoughts on this episode. I just thought it was just amazing. It's my favorite episode of the season so far, but we can only see and wait what the rest of the season will bring us. We only have 4 episodes left, guys. It's going to be great. I'm just excited to see how they're going to take the story of the game further and further and further, and if we're going to get even more tragic outcomes for these characters. But yeah, again, that's going to be my thoughts for these episodes of The Last of Us. Thank you so much for your patience. I do apologize. Again, I was really sick. It wasn't COVID or anything, but I definitely was coming down with something. And I'm just glad to be back and somewhat healthy to just talk about this with you guys, because I just love these Last of Us games, love the story, love this world, and I just can't wait to see what else they bring us. But anyways, what are your thoughts on these episodes? Did you love them? Did you hate them? How are you thinking the story is progressing? I know there are a lot of detractors from episode 3 out there still, but there's also a lot of people who really love the episode, and so I'd really like to know how you guys are feeling about this series as it's going on. We're in the midway point. We're a little bit past the midway point, and it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. But as always, please like and subscribe if you'd be so kind. My name is George Ray. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Please remember to keep calm, keep cool, keep chill. Embrace great cinema. Embrace The Last of Us. I'll see you on the next video. Until then, peace out.